Hey everyone, Joe Soto here, and we have a special treat today. We're going to talk about how do you turn your passion into a hot business idea. We've got Joey's hot sauce. We got Joey. Well, I'm not going to pronounce his last name without him on camera. We'll be right back with you. Just stick with me.
This is the Not Your Average Joe Show, where each week we bring you sales, marketing, and mindset strategies you need to get to your next level. And now, here's your host, international business mentor, Joe Soto.
Joey from Joey's Hot Sauce, you're here.
What's up, Joe Soto?
Joey, you didn't put your last name on the screen, but Repice?
Repice is how my family pronounces
Repice. So Italian last name.
That's been butchered my whole life. Repice, a lot of different enunciations of that.
Repice.
Repice.
Oh man, and I won't be able to say it like that, but I'm not Italian. Joey from Joey's Hot Sauce is with us, everyone, and we have he has an incredible story. So let's just get right into it. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, I'm representing here. Look at this. I'm repping the brand. Look at this. It looks just like you. Whoa.
That's so great.
We'll tell people how they can get a shirt like this. But welcome to the Not Your Average Joe Show. This is where we interview people who are not average. You are not average, and your name is Joe, so it couldn't be more perfect. Give us a little backstory, though. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in the restaurant industry pretty much like for the last 20 somewhat years, and I'm not a chef by trade. My mom is an incredible chef, and I was around the pretty amazing chefs in New York City, and I was around amazing chefs in California, and I've gotten a lot of insight. So the way that I started making this hot sauce is Lisa was just nonchalantly looking at some hot sauce on the shelf, and she was like, "Why do they got to put sugar in everything? Why do they have to put all these like binders and sweeteners?" And I was just literally, and I said, I'm inspired to kind of just make it for her. No intention of starting a brand. I basically just, wanted to make something for my wife, and I was at the farmer's market, and I was in California. We were out in Mar Vista, and they had some peppers. It was right in the season. They had some peppers right there. And I was just like, oh, let me just buy these hot peppers and use sweet peppers to offset the heat. And I went at home, I gave it a go, and I was like, "Hey babe, I made you a hot sauce." And she was just like, "Get out of here." And she tried it, and then she absolutely loved it. She goes, "This is incredible." I happened to tell a friend at work, and he was like, "You did what? You made a hot sauce?" And he goes, "I want to try it." I was like, "Okay, $10." And Mishka from Scopo Italian Roots is where I was. And, that's kind of like how the whole thing started. I cleaned out a bottle of hot sauce that I had in the house, and I brought it into Mishka. He loved it. And I just mentioned it sparked the light bulb in the head. And from there, I started telling more people on Instagram, on Facebook. And next thing you know, people were started ordering this. That's essentially how we started this whole brand. It completely came out of left field. And slowly, I said, okay, what is it going to take to like legitimize this business? And we looked at the costs, and we looked at potential investors. But, we thought, how do you quantify a business like this? You don't want to really take on partners if you don't really, no one really knows what's the future of the hot sauce. So we thought the best place to go take it would be, just taking a brand and putting it on a crowdfunding platform. And that's what we did. We raised quite a bit of money, for just a non, like a complete brand out of nowhere. And we were really happy with the results. We made this amazing video. I had some people that Tim Savage, who shot it incredibly. We had a friend of mine, Nick Ross, who really edited it and masterfully, and we had some amazing like people that I knew at the restaurant that were like stars that cameoed in it, and they did it out of complete love for the connection I have with them, and also the complete love of the sauce. They bought it a couple times, and so they just showed up, and we put this video together. Yes. and thank God for Antonio Zito. Antonio is this amazing artist in New York City. So I sent him a picture of my face, and I was like, I want kind of like the emoji in the background of like flames. And he took that picture of my face, and we have like different styles of heat,
Yeah, I got it.
That one right there. Yeah, that's the OG. You got an OG right there with the little check boxes.
So good.
And yeah, Antonio is he's like an incredible artist. So, he did this like depiction of me, and we were like, this is perfect. And then we started working on the flames, and it wasn't quite there. And then I sent them pictures of the flames that I had on my tattoo, and
cool.
He took that, and that's what essentially brought the label to where we were like, this is perfect. And I also had a friend from New York, and he was talking to me about, Joey, you needed to make it hotter. It needs to look like you're on fire. And at first I had resistance. I'm like, I don't know about that. Marcus, and he owns a juice press out in New York City, but it really stuck with me. And then I said, hey, Zito, can you make this like, like it's hot, like, can you make it look like, and he goes, all right, send me a picture of you kind of like screaming. And that's that other bottle that you have there, Joe. And that's what's on the shirt.
This one.
And so like the hottest sauce I make, has that expression on my face.
And it's called the Hell Eraser.
Yes.
It's called the Hell Eraser. Great name. Before we get into how you named your sauces, you said something I think really critical for the listeners, is that you crowdfunded to get some money into the business to be able to do what with? What were you able to do once you got a little bit of funds?
So yeah, I mean, there's a whole process. You have to have you want to be able to buy things in quantity, so this way you could bring the price down. Like the bottle cost. I was paying like over $1 per each bottle, and it's nickels and dimes in this industry. So that went down to like 40 cents a bottle when I was able to buy a pallet of those bottles. That's like one major factor. Then you need to rent a commercial kitchen space. You need to buy some equipment. You need to legitimize the business, which is a hell of a process. I needed to take a food course, canned food course, and acidified foods. You got to educate myself, and and equipment. I think I mentioned that already. Those are just a couple of the logistics. There's a lot of hidden costs and everything, which I'm sure you're aware of, and a lot of people who've ever started anything that there's and then you need to market. You need to have some money to be able to market the product, and pay for the labeling, and buy that in quantity. The labeling itself, and so those are a couple of the major costs to launch a small business like this.
Yeah. So it started off as just an e-commerce brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And fairly recent, really this year was kind of your year to kind of come out and show the world your sauce. And I remember getting some of your sauce before you even had a label.
Yeah.
You didn't have a brand or a label.
Handwritten labels at first.
Yeah. You had a handwritten, it was like a pen written. I should have saved a bottle because it'd be worth probably something on eBay later. But what we drank, so I'll give my personal testimonial to the sauce when we first got it. So we get these non-labeled bottles. Actually, the first shipment he sent us, they had all broken in the box.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Felt really bad, my wife and I, because the box arrived and the sauce was all, we couldn't try any of it. It was all busted up. So then you resend it. Thank you. And you fell in love with the sauce. It before the brand ever made its showing. And I think it's maybe the best hot sauce ever. Seriously,
Oh,
I've had a lot of hot sauces. And here's something you don't know, Joey, about me. And I know we've kind of gotten to know each other a little bit through social and connecting on this hot sauce over the last several months is, and we've known each other longer because obviously because of your wife as well. But the hot sauce, I don't like peppers. So I won't put peppers on anything. I like the flavor of the peppers, but I don't know if it's a texture thing or what, but I don't like green peppers by themselves. I don't even like onions. I take onions off of everything I ever eat. Can you believe
that's great.
Dry right now. But I love hot sauce, and your hot sauce we put on everything. We put it on our eggs. We put it on our burgers. Lene puts her on her boiled eggs, not just or cooked eggs. We put it on our pastas. I substitute it as steak sauce.
That's amazing.
We put it on everything. That's how much we love the sauce.
I love this.
You've legitimately created an incredible product. But I think one of the things that's inspiring about your story is, first of all, it's a healthy hot sauce. And you don't really have to call it a healthy hot sauce. It's healthy because you're leaving some of the stuff that other people might put in their hot sauces. You know, you read about the keto diet and these other diets and all these different diets, and they warn you, be careful the hot sauces you're eating. You don't realize how much sugar is in hot sauces. Yeah. And you don't realize all these bad ingredients that could be in the hot sauces. And that's all admirable. Don't get me wrong. But I think, you know, obviously for the listeners here, the story that you just pressed through, you persevered through in the middle of a pandemic too, getting your Joey's hot sauce brand launched online. E-commerce is a big pivot for a lot of people anyway, when crisis hits and we go on a, global lockdown.
Yeah.
But one of the things I loved, I was in South Carolina and at the island of the Palms, and I'm at a Mexican taco kind of small stand / restaurant. And the bartender, I said, do you have any good hot sauce? And he has all these different hot sauces. Some of them I recognize. And I said, no, I said, what do you recommend here? Because I forgot my hot sauce at home because we take your hot sauce. And he says, well, I make my own. I said, what? He says, yeah. He says, I have my own here, like private stash. It's in an unlabeled bottle.
That's so wild.
And he's a bartender, but he grows peppers at his home. And he says, I make my own, I grind my own stuff up. I make my own hot sauce. Would you be wanting to try it? It is pretty hot though. I said, no, I love hot. I don't think the Hellraiser is even hot enough sometimes. But he says, I'm going to let you try mine. And so I told him your story. I wrote down your website for him. And the guy lit up because he kind of just needed that extra boost of knowing that it's possible for him to take something that he's doing in his home as a hobby and turn that passion into maybe a business for himself someday. So, and it just happened to be also a hot sauce business, which is ironic. But anybody here listening or anybody watching or somebody who's listening to this down the road as a podcast, taking something you're pretty passionate about, you've been chefing in your own kitchen for a long time. You like to cook. You've been in the restaurant business a long time. I call you a chef. I know you're going, I'm not a chef by a trade, but anybody who can make a sauce like this is a chef in my eyes. And
thank you.
But turned entrepreneur, that's a big leap. What, how did you get through maybe some of that self-talk, or maybe some of those naysayers out there, or even maybe some of those trials and tribulations that you had where you maybe second thought your business?
It's a great question, Joe. There's constant challenges, and it's just, there's something that is just, I feel that is like, there's a force behind this. It's kind of beyond me and my own limitations. I think if you tell anybody who's been an entrepreneur what they have to do to actually get to where they need to be, they would probably say, no, thanks, but it's just the next right thing is what I've been focusing on. And there's been like miracles along the way. There's been so much support that has always kind of like carried us into the next situation. The right person just came along, and to remain upbeat, like that's another thing. I invest into myself, not to like be like taken down, in life. I try to remain connected to people in my life, and connected to something like that's bigger than me in my life. And I connect to people that, you know, that had led the way in their life, and they really helped me, kind of mentor me into believing into the unknown and the impossible. And it's really made a huge impact in my life. Like I said, if you told me what I would have had to done prior to like taking the steps, I probably would have said no thanks. But I wouldn't have this any other way. Like, you know, even with the fires that came over here, Joe, we had fires, and I was, you know, renting a commercial kitchen space, and you know, there's a path in life, you know, and you know, the kitchen that I was using burnt down in those fires.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was renting there, and I lost some equipment, and you know, it wasn't great, and but by no means people were losing their homes. People, you know, the guy that had the kitchen there, he lost his entire operation, and he remained like really upbeat, and I stayed connected to him. And Tauntaun inspired me, and it just like there's a path, I feel, Joe, that you know, you can either like start going into the negativity about the situation, or you can see the miracles in it. And I was blessed to start looking at the miracles. And what's fascinating about that, in my experience, is that more miracles started to unfold as a result of me focusing on, like, you know, the people that supported me along that way. You know, I had people at the farmers market just gather money to, like, you know, help out. It's just a little bit, but it's just, that was very moving. Like, wow, that's super sweet. You know, I had the purveyor that I buy the peppers from, she found out about it, you know, and they waived one bill, you know, and I'm like, that's incredible, you know. Yeah. That it was really touching, you know. And it inspired me to just, you gotta keep going, you know. Nothing is going to stop. Like, the vigilance is really like what has happened, and continues to happen. You know, I stay committed, and then the impossible, you know, the providence moves to it. You hear about it, but it's also been my experience, you know. And I hope that answers that question.
No, that's amazing. And I had no idea that the fires took your kitchen, essentially, that you're renting through, and then to be able to not quit or give up, that's amazing in and of itself. And then the support you got from vendors who want to see your idea and your passion through here in this sauce. And it's a testament to, you know, just entrepreneurship as well. These they're entrepreneurs, your vendors, your farmers at the market who are providing the peppers. They get it. You know, it's this community that you're in. And that's inspiring. I know there's a lot of people who start or try to start, or they're thinking of starting a business, and they talk themselves out of it, mm-hmm. right? They talk themselves out of it. So your initial inspiration was your wife, and she's probably your biggest fan and supporter now.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I'm certain she helps you market the business as well, right?
Yeah, that's, you know, also with your guidance. Like, she's taken some courses with you, and that's helped us really. What's funny about brand story, you know, you hear a lot about brand story, and people contrive brand story. And the beauty of our brand story, it's authentic, you know. It's just it's our history. It's pretty much how we launched this brand. Is just a real, it's a love story in a sense, you know. I was inspired to make this for her. I had no intention of starting a hot sauce company, and but just, you know, kept going down the trail of like, what do we do here? You know, this is pretty fascinating. So people seem to be attracted to what's going on, and there's more people that don't want, you know, sugar in their food. And you know, there's people, like you were saying, ketogenic, carnivore, you know, and people that are just health conscious, you know. And that's something I take pride in too. I'm hitting 50, Joe. You know, your metabolism changes when you hit 50, and it's if you don't, like, you know, make the correlation of what you're putting in your body and how you feel, if you don't get on, you know, invest into that, you know. I started seeing myself. You can even look on my Instagram. I was putting on some weight, and I tried to like stay fit. And it was just, I found it challenging. And then I committed to just going out there and running, and just, you got to constantly want to be willing to learn and push the envelope in everything in life. You always like talk about that. It's like, it's not like I did the work and okay, you just hang it up on the hanger and it's done. There's always something else that just comes about that we need to like, be inspired to take it to the next level.
But leads me to my other question, because and on Instagram, you're at Joey's Hot Sauce, is that right?
Yes, at Joey's Hot Sauce.
At Joey's Hot Sauce on Instagram. You should definitely follow Joey, and not just because it's a bunch of stuff about hot sauce, because it's not. Joey is his brand, and you kind of live your brand, and you do it by showcasing your lifestyle and your interests. And to what he's talking about with his priority on fitness and lifestyle and healthy eating and healthy living, you incorporate, your wife comes into there. I really love the comment about it being a love story, by the way, because tying a passion into a hot business idea that turns into a hot sauce product line that he's selling via e-commerce and calling that a love story is epic to me. I think that is so raw and awesome, by the way. It's cool. And your website kind of reflects that love story, not just with the story told, but you incorporate your wife into your homepage with you on there. And you guys, started this together. Your personal brand, talk to me a little bit about, I don't even know if you've given it a lot of thought, to be honest, because from what I know about you, you're probably not sitting around trying to grab a notepad and a pen going, how do I incorporate my personal brand to sell hot sauce? You're just being you, but personal branding is something that a lot of people are interested in, and how do they incorporate their lifestyle, their personality into their social media in a way that attracts people to go, you know what, I dig this guy and what he's doing, and I want to try his hot sauce now. So that's what you've done.
Yeah, it's really.
What advice would you give somebody who's like scratching their head on personal branding?
That's a great question. For me, like you said, it's not something that I really was like, we sat around and tried to contrive. For me, that's been more about like just following the trail of authenticity, and I want to present something like you can trust, because like that was the thing about the products on the market. Like we looked at it and didn't feel like we can trust what's going on. And to be honest with you, even further I go along, trying to partner up with some co-packing, they're cutting a lot of corners, and I understand why that they put those additives, and I understand why it just makes it a lot simpler. But just because they're doing it, that doesn't mean that Lisa and I are going to go in that direction. So the brand is just more about like me, having a brand that you can trust, and that's kind of what we decided. And it wasn't even a decision. It was just like, we're going to move forward and bring forth a product that people can entrust in, and a lifestyle that I'm living, that I'm not forcing on anybody. I'm just like authentically living it, and just share the story of like where it came from, like the fact that it was a love story, because that's the actual truth about it.
I love it. So this, you saying that you wanted to create a product that you can trust, there's a lot of elements that go into that, right? So consistency in product. The product I first tasted, when it didn't have a label, is consistent with the Hellraiser the Hell Eraser, right, that I have now. This one is the I know this is an OG label here, the Priscilla the Creeper, because we've got like 50 bottles of this hot sauce.
It's amazing.
This is Priscilla the Creeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the names of your hot sauces, because I think naming products is very interesting to me. I think I remember when you were brainstorming whether you should call your hot sauce even Joey's Hot Sauce.
Yes.
And I'm the wrong person to ask, because my name's Joe and my family calls me Joey. So, I'm like, yeah, call it Joey's Hot Sauce, like, or else I'm going to buy the name and call it that and make you buy it. But the product that you can trust. I remember when I made the switch from PC to Apple. Why did I make that switch to that brand? And it was because I had lost trust in PCs and Dell computers at the time. Yeah. I lost the trust. They lost my loyalty. I kept buying new Dells. I felt like every year because of the virus attacks and everything else that you kept crashing. And then when I got the Mac, the Apple, it became the first product, and still is. I would only buy Apple products now because I trust the brand. I trust the product. So that's a really good lesson for people to think about, like, how does a brand, come to market already with some strength? Well, it's going to have to earn it through some consistency and earning and building that trust with the consumer. But for you, it was, I saw what was out there. Nobody can trust what they're eating. People are scared to even look at the labels. But anyway, very good. That's good insight. Tell me about the names of the products.
Yeah.
Tell everyone about the names.
To tailgate on that, it's like, what's your differentiator? Like what you're putting forward and what the brand, what product that you have that just is different from other products is a really great thing to kind of hone in on, and that's one thing we were writing on. Going back to the name, it's really funny because it's kind of like the original sauce that I made with Lisa, and we were sitting around, we're eating it, and like, I can't believe how many people are wanting these really small batches. And we're sitting down, we're like, what should we name it, babe? And we're eating, we're enjoying it, and the heat, it doesn't really come off super strong, and particularly Priscilla, it's like the least hot of all of our sauces. So I tasted it, and then the heat kind of just creeped in on you, right? And out of nowhere, they just dropped into my head. And of all things, a British voice went in my head, said, Priscilla the Creeper. I
love it.
What was that? And sure enough, I told Lisa, I said, we should call it Priscilla the Creeper. And she said, I love that. We spoke to Atlas, who's a friend of ours, a mentor. His kid, he's a little kid. He's amazing. And he's like, I love that name. And it was just kind of an affirmation. We have to call that sauce Priscilla the Creeper. That's how that name came into fruition.
That's the best name. I love that name. And then you've also got Lisa, the Truffle Queen.
Yes. So, Jamie was helping me make the batches and bottle the batches, and we were mailing them out. And she was in my house, and we're like, what are we going to call this one? And I kept on experimenting with a truffle sauce because I looked at a truffle sauce on the market, and I was like, I looked at the ingredients. I'm like, agave, it's so 2000. And I wasn't inspired by the actual product, but I was inspired by the concept of the product. But we wanted to do that, kind of Joey style. So I kept adding real truffles, blending it in. And, because a lot of the truffle products on the market, they use a truffle flavor. It's some kind of synthetic chemically derivative to kind of give you the experience and smell of truffles. That's why when you go and you have truffle fries in some restaurants, and you're like, how can they afford, how can that still be $7? It's because it's not really natural. Some of it tastes really good, but that's not what we're going for. We were just going for real truffles. So I was putting it in the blender, 5 grams, 7 grams.
It happens to taste great.
I'm sorry?
Your product just happens to taste great, though. So just for people who just maybe are getting on or just now listening to this, you didn't sacrifice taste, though, for anything.
No. I mean, the wow factor has to be there. I don't care how good and healthy something is. If I'm putting it on my palate, like I said, I've been around restaurateurs my whole life. Incredible chefs from New York City, like Neil Hardin, ABCV, John George affiliate. I've been around some incredible chefs. A friend of mine, Daniel. These guys have inspired me, and I've even cooked for some of them in my house, and they love my cooking, which was the highest honor, so the wow factor has to be there. I don't care how good for you it is, if it doesn't taste good, who cares? I don't care how good it is if it doesn't taste good. So, I kept adding the truffles, and we're like, forget about the cost. We're just going to go until we get to the sweet spot. And then we got at 10 grams, 10 grams of real, Oregon truffles. Right now we're using Oregon truffles. At the time they were the Italian ones. And we got to that sweet spot. And then we just like said, oh, this is great. Lisa, what do you think? And once Lisa tasted, that sauce, she was like, I want no other sauce. This is the most incredible thing I ever had in my life. So when we were thinking about the name, it was like, Jamie said, why don't you call it Lisa the Truffle Queen? And I was like, perfect.
Perfect. And then Hellraiser.
Yeah. So Lisa and I met in New York City.
Which for the record is my favorite, because you almost can't make a sauce hot enough for me. Although I've had a couple that have been like off the hook. Oh, I'm almost suicidal. But this is like the perfect hot sauce. And for people who like really hot sauce, this is like the perfect hot sauce.
Yeah.
It really crosses that. It's right on that line of not going to be so hot that you don't taste the food, but it's definitely going to have enough heat that you can respect it for being a really hot sauce.
Yeah, that was the thing for me, like, even though I am a hot sauce maker, I don't actually like the hottest sauce to like annihilate my palate. I think it's more about depth of flavor than anything else. And if I'm trying to find that perfect balance, and my friend Alex, who's like a really, really hot sauce connoisseur, he was the gauge. Every time I made a batch, he'd buy a batch and he'd go, oh, it was great flavor, hotter. And I'd say, okay. So I kept pushing the envelope and finding that perfect balance. And again, it correlates with Lisa, because Lisa's from Northern California. They say hella over there. So we thought it would be like, Hellraiser, instead of saying Hellraiser, it's like the perfect name to kind of go.
It's different. It's different. I hope people who are watching and listening are hearing the subtle personal branding secrets and the product branding secrets here, which is, first of all, your naming of the products are being true to, as you even said it, you said it kind of nonchalantly, which is, it's got to be Joey's, like the Joey style, right? There's a flavor to your names even that represent your brand and kind of like the person and the dynamic personal brand that you are. And you didn't even settle for naming your products in boring or traditional ways. You have very unconventional names for hot sauces that are true and tied to your story.
Yeah, thanks.
Telling the story of how you named
my mom,
Lisa the Truffle Queen. I mean, that's an incredible short nugget of a story to show people that you've stayed true to your brand and your style, even through naming your own products. But you didn't sit down and methodically try to do that. It just kind of came naturally for who you are, because you are so true to your style, your brand, authentically being you, that you didn't cut even corners when it came to that. And and as a result, branding's a really interesting concept. And I was recently talking to Patrick Hanlon, who's going to be the author of Primal Branding, is going to be on my show here in a few weeks. And I don't think there's anybody on the planet that knows more about branding than him, but he talks about the root code to creating authentic brands. And you kind of represent, each of the 7 codes that he talks about in his book without even knowing that you are. And it's the whole question around what makes a brand stand out and makes people love it versus ones that are the same type of product maybe, and people don't necessarily gravitate to those brands. And you're giving insight into that here. And I'm guessing you're also giving people a lot of inspiration. So what would you say to somebody right now who's thinking like, well, I want to start my own business, or I want to start my own side hustle, or create a business based on something I'm passionate about, but they're talking themselves out of it and they're saying, well, maybe it's not for me, or it's going to take a lot of money or a lot of time. But what would you tell them to get over to stop telling themselves stories that would limit them?
Yeah, just, get out of your head, I think is one piece of advice that I need to continually remind myself. The intellect's a very powerful tool, and I think it's, extremely important, but at the same token, it's also, it's got in the way, rationally, things don't unfold that way. follow the trail of miracles, follow the trail of your passion. This has been like my passion to make this like amazing flavorful sauce, and looking at people reaction to the sauce has been inspiring, times, but also been extremely inspiring. And to see people light up, to see people that I've sent the sauce to, and they're sharing pictures of their breakfast, and it's like this family thing for me. It's been me connecting, my Italian roots. I come from like Italian family. We all sat on Sunday and we had dinner and we shared that experience. And so just like for me, sharing my authenticity, my truth, my it's connected to the brand. And so it's been kind of like a natural process. It hasn't been something that I like meticulously have sought out and tried to like come from an angle. It's been more like an organic process for me. And
Yeah.
it's been our truth, Lisa and I, it's been our truth to like just really kind of look at it and become aware of it, and in a sense present it to people too, because like it's a big part of it. You can be living it, but how you present that to people is like a huge key factor too. You got to bring people into the experience of what has inspired you to get you to where you are.
If somebody orders the hot sauce, did you set up a code that people that are listening to the Not Your Average Joe show can get?
Oh yeah.
What's the code?
20. SOTO 20.
Soto 20. I should probably tell people that. There's probably people going to be ordering this. So if they use Soto 20 as a discount code, they'll get 20% off.
20% off. Yeah. And we got some,
by the way,
good deals out there. We got 3-packs and 5-packs and case prices. They're all kind of like our website's still under construction, but we're pretty happy with the development so far. A friend of mine, Marco, incredible photographer, took some like even more amazing photos that we're going to be putting onto the site. But yeah, I'd love for your audience to be able to, Joe, you've been a big inspiration for us. Even that little bit of advice you gave me yesterday, we already changed that the pop-up window shows for people that, that come on, that just come onto the site, that they can actually get, enter to be able to get a free 3-pack. They're putting themselves in to be able to get a complimentary 3-pack.
So are you giving that away every month?
We just did. I'm putting that in.
Yeah. So let me clarify, because for people watching that are marketers, my advice was, in order to really entice people to give you their email to join your newsletter, give them a great reason to do that. In this case, it was they could be entered to win some free hot sauce every month. So if you join Joey's list, which I encourage you to do, get on that list so you find out when the new hot sauces are coming out, or just tips on how to use the hot sauce in different types of foods. There's all kinds of things that you might get educated on, but you'll be entered to win free hot sauce. Like who could beat that? So I remember when we first were looking at what you had going on, and I said to you, before you had FDA approval, really, that to at least get some sort of landing page up that says, it's coming soon. And if you join our VIP early notification when we go live list, you'll be entered to win free hot sauce for a year. And you did that.
Yep. And that was
which also tells me that you're not just coachable, you're an implementer and an executor. And those are also a couple of ideas or tips people might not be thinking about for their own business. I see a lot of people who have websites, they have newsletters, they have just, subscribe to our site, and people don't have a reason to do that. They don't want to just throw out their email anymore to people. You have to give them compelling reasons to do it. And as much as people might love hot sauce, they may not want to be on your list, but they'll take that extra step and get on your list when they feel like there's something that might be in it for them, which in this case is people love contests and giveaways. But also, I think, when you have a great product, it definitely helps. You wouldn't be on here if I didn't know you had a great product. Not just think, but I actually know you have a great product. Timmy, who is on here, who's actually my brother-in-law, said that that his wife liked it. She was over my house a few weeks ago, and I said, you should try this hot sauce. And she goes, oh, I love hot sauce. And then she was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. She liked them both. We had, well, the two that we had her try was Priscilla the Creeper and Hellraiser. And she loved them. So, you know, I haven't had anyone tell me they didn't love it. You know, I know my wife's she'll be in the middle of eating, and then she'll be like, wait, I got to Insta story this. And this, I'm putting Joey's hot sauce on my food. She'll stop our dinner just to Insta story your stuff, man. You're winning over the hearts of everyone. So
yeah, a couple things like really like cracked me up. I had a friend of mine that he goes, my fiance loves it and she hates everything, you know? So it's really funny that I've even had people that say they're not even hot sauce fans, but their friends were so enthusiastic about it that they gave it a try. And they're like, I don't even like hot sauce and this thing is amazing, you know? So it's been inspiring, you know, the balance of simplicity brings greatness. You know, my mom, you know, kitchen skills, it wasn't so much like she was like a chef extraordinaire, and even though in my opinion she was, and in all of my neighborhood, like everybody in my neighborhood was just like, Joey, you know, please don't say you're not hungry because she'll feed us too. Like, you know, you gotta like say you're hungry so they could eat. And she was notorious in our neighborhood for just, you know, her eggplant parmigiani, everything that my mom made, you know, the rice balls she executed, and it wasn't so complex. But it's just that the balance of that simplicity, just, you know, that's another thing that just came to my head, you know, brings greatness. And that's in life too. You know, if I just stay simple and balance it, you know, not too much this way, not too much that way, just try to like balance that simplicity. You know, there's just something that comes, you know, of that. There's just something that's really powerful. And standing on the shoulder of giants like you, Joe, anything that you say, you know, like you've inspired Lisa's brand in social media. You've inspired my brand. You have such amazing insight. So for me to stand on the shoulder of giants like you and the network of people that you surround yourself with is like, not to take that advice would be the extremely foolish thing to do.
Well, no, it's more than that, because you're willing to execute on things that you know you can improve upon. And I love, you know, stories like yours. So you got some fans on here. Do you see, I know some people might be listening to this as a podcast later, but we were posting comments. People are saying, this is Joe Ingram of Ingram Interactive saying he's on YouTube saying he loves your hot sauce. So you've got real fans on here. The comment that you mentioned around, I lost that. I keep writing down notes. You're talking a little bit about something that goes beyond just the product, right? So when you watch Joey on social media, you can see him living out what he's talking about here, because you're not just about inspiring people to buy a hot sauce. You are inspiring people to take a look at what a lifestyle can be like for you if you're willing to embrace it, because you're living proof of it. You're in probably as good of shape as you've ever been in your life, as you're talking about. You have some really entertaining videos on Instagram, and I watch some of your stories, and it's entertaining. And it's a blend of Joey and his life and kind of what's going on in his world, and how he, you know, from jump roping sometimes to doing yoga and other things. I mean, you're doing all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with hot sauce, which I love. And then, you know, you get so much love from people who love your hot sauce that all you got to do is post and reshare some of their stories. And that speaks enough to your brand without you ever having to tout your product or really say very much about it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And that's hard to achieve. And you're starting to get into some grocery stores. I know you said you're making some money from the farmers markets.
Yeah.
I believe we're going to see your hot sauce around the country in different regional grocery chains before too long. And that's going to be.
You said right when I first started this thing, you're like, this is going to be the most famous hot sauce ever. Like,
I just will. Not because of anybody else, but because of you, man, because of what you're doing. It's incredible.
It's so awesome.
It's incredible. So he says, Eric says, is it only retail or is he also in food service?
Right now, I have it at Mill Cross in LA, and they're an amazing coffee shop. They were in my neighborhood when I was in LA. I lived in Mar Vista for a while. They use it as part of like some of their ingredients. The chef was really interested in it on that level. And then they also had it on the tables. You know, it's unfortunate right now because of COVID, you can't really have a lot of there's a lot of regulations about having condiments on the tables. But I've been doing a cross promotion with a coffee shop called Commodities, that they're doing like a free, that you get if you purchase a burrito, you get a free bottle of Joey's hot sauce. There's a couple promotions that we have, you know, down the trail, but it can't be that you could just use it. You have to have the whole bottle. So that's a couple of different ideas that we're in the co-op here in Ashland. So we moved to Oregon, Ashland. We love this place. We've been coming to Oregon and Ashland for years, and we love the co-op here. Yeah. And it's such an honor to like be able to hit the shelves. And I was giving it to a lot to the employees, you know, just before we even got in the door. And it became like a staff, like it was in the staff room. Everyone was just crazy about it. So when I got it into the store, we're moving it on the shelves because people are like, you know, staff is like walking around and going, yeah, you got to try that hot sauce. Your hot sauce is the best, you know? So, you know, that's been, you know, like another thing that's kind of part of like that family, you know, community thing, and just wanting to be a service, you know, to people, to have something flavorful and healthy, you know, that's the combination.
I love that. You know, I hope people are listening because, you know, you saying that you just want to be of service, right? So another one of my upcoming guests is Evan Carmichael, who wrote he's got 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube. He's known as the YouTube influencer that teaches people how to be influencers on YouTube, interviews the who's who of influencers, but he wrote a book called Built to Serve. And it really is his secret sauce, no pun intended, to what makes his YouTube grow, what makes his brand grow. And it's this mindset of serving other people. And, you know, you've been on here now almost 50 minutes, and multiple times I've heard you insinuate and or directly say, you're serving, you're giving, and it's a family feel to your business and brand that's, you know, where your brand's kind of rooted in. Obviously, it started as a love story. If you guys missed the first few 20 minutes or so of the show, you missed that story, I'd go back and listen. But the tie-in of that, you look at this from a mindset of, I'm serving other people, I'm giving them a product that you can trust, a product that serves a healthier lifestyle than what they're used to getting. It gives them an option. It's a differentiator in the marketplace that's represented by product and the type of product that it is, but also in the way that you've named your brand, the way that you portray your brand, the way that you live it. And these are big lessons for people who, I know you just take it for granted, Joey, because I know you well enough to go, is that really true? It's like, you're probably kind of self-evaluating, like, really? Like, but for people who are outside of your bubble, this is inspiring, and it's a great story, man. It's a great brand story that people can learn from. And I want people to unpack you and decode you like this.
I have amazing mentors to keep me on track. You know, my wife is such an amazing support to me, and our community is just so inspiring to keep me on track. You know, I can derail this thing, you know, left to my own devices, I can derail this thing. But, you know, if I stay connected, I feel like inspired to keep going. Yeah.
And, you know, we've got several people who are on here with the video portion of our show right now live that, you know, are entrepreneurs, and I know many of them. So I know that they would agree with me that they can kind of unpack what makes you go. Now, I wish you all the success in the world. I hope everyone orders your hot sauce because it's just a great product. But more importantly, I hope everyone, you know, I know it's like, well, you want to sell product, but that you're more than that too. I know you want to serve, and that you understand you're serving by sharing your story here, which I am grateful for, because you're going to inspire people to start their own businesses and turn their passion into a hot business idea. You're going to inspire people to overcome their excuses, to push through the limitations of the, it's not all rosy, right? It's not all, perfect. It hasn't been an easy ride, has it?
Not at all. By no means. There's definitely been some obstacles, some challenges for sure.
Yeah. I mean, from the kitchen burning down to, losing or trying to get the FDA approval. I mean, what does that take? A couple days?
Days. I have dyslexia, and I was fortunate enough to have people to help me through that process. And, it was an online course for me. They do offer that online. At first I thought I was going to go to Washington, but it was in the midst of COVID-19. And then, they were going to have someone to help me with my dyslexia through the course, and it was like a 3-day intensive dropping in to do this acidified, canned food course. And I was ready to go for it. But then the person said, since you have dyslexia and this is COVID-19, what do you think about our online course? I'm like, there's online courses, and then I was able to kind of take it at my own pace, and I had a friend of mine, Mike Perini, help me. And, we just partnered up, just
to get to the point where you can have FDA approval and get launched. Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible. So here's a question. What's the hardest thing to do in turning your passion into a business? George says.
Getting rid of the noise, not buying into the noise that's in my head. There's so much, for me, there's been negativity and doubt, and like I was mentioning earlier, logic can almost be a sabotaging force to not kind of dive into the unknown. It's like you're free falling when you're following your passion, but there's just something that supports you. There's no bottom to when you're free falling. Something my mentor said, you could just trust and let go, and the right next person, the connection will just magically show up. That's been my experience. They magically show up there to support the vision to keep going forward.
There's a book called Real Magic by, I think her name's Melissa Gilbert. She wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love. People know that movie, but the movie was derived from the book. But in her book, Real Magic, is actually her only nonfiction book. And she speaks to this. You've referred to it as magic and magical and miracles a couple of times in the show here, about things just falling into place and you paying attention to the voice in your head that came through, and you even gave the tone and the accent to it to name the product. Those are little acts of inspiration that she refers to as real magic. One of the few audiobooks I've listened to more than 2 times, because first of all, her voice is very soothing and easy to listen to, and it's inspiring. And she talks about how if we don't listen to these voices of inspiration, if we don't accept inspiration and magic into our lives, and some people can refer to it as God and inspiration, then she says, somebody else will pick it up and run with it. And she talks about how many of you have had an idea, and I'm talking to everyone listening right now, how many of you have ever had an idea that it was a great idea, like an invention or something you thought of, and then a year later you saw the idea manifested, somebody else had came out with it or created it, and you were like, that was my idea. That's what I had thought of that a year ago or 2 years ago. Well, see, those ideas she's saying isn't by chance. That's divine inspiration from God that's coming in. And you're either going to listen to it or not. And if not, he'll give it to somebody else that will act on it.
That's powerful.
It's really powerful in the book, Real Magic. And you're kind of a living example of this. You would probably resonate with her message in that book because it is what you're talking about.
Definitely going to listen to it now.
We're getting really deep. We're getting really deep now. All right. Let's a couple more questions we'll take. Joe says, what was the biggest waste of time that you learned? So if you started over, you could skip that delay.
That's an interesting question. I think I learned a lot from even the biggest mistakes, maybe investing into and exploring partnership that didn't actually feel like, not trusting the intuition, just saying, but we need an investor, because we need to get to we need X amount of dollars to get to the next place. And, so exploring a lot of partnerships that weren't necessarily, didn't feel right. We they might have wanted so much percentage that just didn't really make sense, and B, you bring in another element, and it's like if you're going to scale, you're going to probably need to raise money later on down the road to scale. Like if it's going to go nationwide, and that's the time to partner up with people when you've kind of established the brand. So maybe not really getting partners, maybe pushing that aside was a little bit of I even learned from a lot of that, but putting aside partners for now, and maybe and figuring out different ways to get yourself so that you don't lose percentage of your money, because it's so impossible to quantify what you have until you've established it. And that's the only way you can offset someone's investment, otherwise it's just like throwing numbers in the wind.
That's powerful. And I love that you kind of summed up this mistake as not trusting your intuition. Once you started to, everything started to work out for you. This is awesome. Joey, we got to wrap up.
Joey, you're awesome. You're the best.
Thanks for being on.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Everybody can find out about you by going where?
joeyshotsauce.com or my Instagram @joeyshotsauce.
And they can use Soto 20. I think I put 2020 on there, but it's Soto 20, right?
20, not 2020.
I know. This is why, really starting like next week, I'm not going to be running the behind the scenes part of this. That's it right there, right?
Right there. That's
Soto 20.
Get 20% off.
Sauce.com. You get 20% off. I want to hear if you love his sauce. Joey wants to hear if you love the sauce, and you can
definitely
tag him on Instagram. Follow him on Instagram. Let him know that you heard the show, loved the show, and let's show him some love. Thank you so much for being my guest, man.
I'm gonna give me the opportunity, Joe. You're the best.
I really appreciate it. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thanks, everyone.
Tune in next week for the Not Your Average Joe Show with international business mentor Joe Soto.